Welcome back to Newsmax Now. I'm Miranda Kahn. The White House confirms that 2 Americans fighting for al-Qaeda were killed during counterterrorism operations along the Afghan-Pakistani border, but 2 innocent hostages, including another American, were also killed.
I profoundly regret what happened. On behalf of the United States government, I offer our deepest apologies to the families.
President Obama says he'll declassify the details of that operation so that the families can know the truth. House Speaker John Boehner says Americans want Washington to get things done, and during a news conference today, he says that's exactly what Republicans are doing.
Some things we've passed, like the Keystone Pipeline bill and ambush election bill, to protect American workers, are still being blocked by Washington Democrats.
Despite gridlock on Capitol Hill, Boehner's hoping to get bipartisan support and moving forward. A lawyer for real estate heir Robert Durst says state weapons charges against the 72-year-old have been dropped, but Durst, who faces murder charges in California, remains jailed right now in a Louisiana prison. And happy birthday to NASA's Hubble Space Telescope. You can see some of the images captured by the telescope right here. Oh, look at that. Looks like a painting. Today marks 25 years since NASA sent the Hubble telescope into orbit. Never get sick of those.
All right, thanks, Miranda. Republican strategist Ford O'Connell staying with us now. And Ford, yesterday down in Miami Lakes, Florida, I sat down with Senator Bob Graham, a former 2-term governor of Florida, also the former Senate Intelligence Committee chairman. Weighing in on 2016, I was a little bit surprised. He says he's going to back Hillary, even though once upon a time they went their separate ways on the Iraq war vote. Let's take a listen to his prediction for 2016.
I think the fact that Mrs. Clinton served 4 years as Secretary of State is an important part of her resume to be the next President of the United States. Most American elections are settled on domestic issues, the economy.
It's always the economy.
But I believe that the challenge that this country is going to face in the next period, particularly the period between 2017 and 2021, will be heavily oriented towards the U.S. and the world, and having as a president who knows the world in the depth that Mrs. Clinton does will be a national asset.
Well, Ford, a bit surprising for you to hear Bob Graham say those things about Hillary Clinton, considering that they disagreed on the Iraq war?
Well, if it weren't for double standards, Democrats like Bob Graham would have no standards at all. Let's understand why he wants to back her and why he's now saying nice things. One, he knows that she's going to win the Democratic nomination unless she implodes. And secondly, let's remember here, he has a daughter who's a congresswoman in North Florida. And he knows that if he doesn't back Hillary Clinton and she does become the President of the United States, trust me, Gwen Graham, the screws will be put to her. So he's trying to protect his legacy and his backside and say, well, I had it both ways. I had Obama and Clinton. This is good politicking on Bob Graham's part.
Well, we know he's good at that, but I also talked to him a little bit about the Iranian deal that's being worked out right now and asked if he thought that the Senate, considering he's again a former senator, that they should have more control over this deal and maybe get some authority to read over it ahead of time. And he told us a story about whether he thought that if Kennedy had had the same type of scrutiny from Congress back in the early 1960s when he was talking to Khrushchev, that basically Florida and the United States would no longer exist. What do you think about that?
I think there's a little hyperbole there on his part, but I do see what he's saying here. He's playing devil's advocate, but let's put it this way. The Senate needs to have review over this agreement because it's an arms deal, okay? And because it's an arms deal, generally speaking, they all go through Congress. That's just the way we work in the modern era and the nuclear era.
And so what do you think of the final result of this is going to be? We've heard some more discussion about this week, and we know we're expecting to vote. Do you think the president ultimately will cave here to the wishes of Senate Democrats on the Iranian nuclear deal?
Yeah, I do. I mean, look, he wants this deal. He's going to get this deal. The only question really is what kind of deal it is and whether or not it's good for America, because my biggest concern here with this deal is that he wants to give them about $50 million, the Iranians, from the seized assets. And my problem there is when they misbehave, because they will misbehave, it's going to be very hard to snap these sanctions back. My concern with the entire Iranian deal is how do I monitor them? And if I can't monitor them, this is a bad idea to begin with.
All right. We also talked to Graham about what what he thought the U.S.'s role should be moving ahead here. And we look at the proxy war playing out in Yemen. We'll have more of our exclusive interview with Bob Graham coming up here tomorrow. And Ford, we thank you for being with us here for about the last hour or so. Always great to get your insight on everything, a wide range of topics, not just politics, but a bunch of other stuff as well. We'll have you back very soon. All right, Ford O'Connell coming to you live there from Washington, D.C. When we come right back, we're going to take a look at Republican Senators John McCain and Ted Cruz, as well as Rand Paul and Lindsey Graham, all talking and talking and talking. The issue is about guns and military bases. Cruz admits he misspoke, and McCain thinks the Texas senator would actually make a better president than Rand Paul. We'll have all the back and forth when we come back. Also, a fraternity wrongly accused of rape. Well, their dean at the University of Virginia, they're set to sue Rolling Stone. Was this reckless reporting, and will anything done in this case stop future reckless reporting like this story? We're coming right back with more Newsmax Now after this.